Hey everyone, it's me Holly. Welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be doing something a bit different and something I've actually really wanted to do for a long time, which is talk to you about Inside No.9. I don't really do many videos talking in depth about different shows that I love, but as someone who gets really hyperfixated on different things, and they tend to be TV shows, I feel like I have a lot to say and a lot of things that I want to share with other people that enjoy watching the show. In this video I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on every episode of series 9. Episode 1 of series 9 is called Boo to a Goose, and this was set on an underground tube, and there was 9 passengers. A bit of a technical issue on the line where the lights went out in their train carriage and the nurse's purse was stolen, and you just have to watch these characters in quite an intimate environment work out who's taken the purse and how they try and fit into different roles. You know, the guy with the blue coat on, who's the teacher, unfortunately I have forgotten his name, kind of took that authority role immediately, trying to figure out who's done this and asserting himself in a very authoritarian way, believing that people had to follow what he was saying, obey him. And it was, as someone who studies psychology, and at the time of watching this I was studying and revising for my paper 1 exam, which has social influence on it, I was instantly, my mind was intrigued because it really did a good job of depicting social conformity, how you just go along with someone because they've taken responsibility of that situation. They've decided that they were going to be the one to control. Obviously chose characters from very different backgrounds to try and make a scenario where you can see how different people would react. And as you're watching it, you really think about what you would do and whether you would be like the nurse and kind of sit back and not really be too bothered, being quite polite, not wanting to get involved, saying it's okay, it's fine. Or would you be, you know, like Cleo, trying to rebel against, and you stand up for what she believes in. Another aspect of this that I really, really loved, but it was also really heartbreaking, was Jerry and Edith. It's very clear that Jerry has gone through this situation before. And when you have a rewatch of it, because I've rewatched all these episodes, when you rewatch it and you can kind of see the little tells that he has, where it's like, oh, he used to be so, you know, right and strong-willed, standing up for what he believes in. You know, as Edith says, he was the first to protest at his work, but now he's been conformed, he's been changed, and all he can really do is, as soon as an authority figure says, "Are you with me, Jerry?" instantly he has to abide.
Gerard? I agree.
He's been changed because of the situation he's gone through. Another key aspect which I really loved was having Harold on there, who was clearly an outsider. He wasn't involved in the situation, and people tended to just leave him be because he was kind of the weird conspiracy theorist in the group. And it's very interesting. I do wonder if anyone has watched the episode. The one thing I couldn't work out about him was where he kind of, because he put his hand up when the blue coat teacher guy said, "Who's with me?" and he put his hand up, but I couldn't really work out whether, because I always found that he didn't fit in, so I didn't know what that kind of meant, whether he actually did agree with him or whether he just put his hand up. I mean, I think it looked like he just put his hand up because he just thought, yeah, why not? Also, on the end, you didn't see him get out the train. So that's the one bit that I'm slightly more confused about. Obviously, he doesn't have the same ideas as everyone else on that train. For him, it wasn't what's right and what's wrong. He just doesn't believe in anything. That was Boo to a Goose. Really, really loved this episode from a psychological standpoint. It really makes you think about what you would do in that situation, and how as a society we do tend to just conform with the authority figures. Okay, so I have just rewatched episode 2 of series 9, which is The Trolley Problem, so I can actually tell you guys how I felt about it a lot better, because my memory had been a little bit, after it had a couple weeks, you start to forget things, so I thought I'd just rewatch it. And every single one of these episodes is so good on a rewatch. I love this series for the fact that you can rewatch them and find new things every single time. Trolley Problem. I absolutely adored the moral dilemma aspect of this one. I think I love how each episode, and it's obvious because it's an anthology series, but I love how each episode is different and makes you question different things in life, basically. I mean, Boo to a Goose is making you question authority and standing up to things that you don't think are right. You've got the Trolley Problem, which is making you think that any choice you make in your life could determine a certain outcome. And with the Trolley Problem, I went for a phase where I really enjoyed researching ethics, like ethical dilemmas. I don't know why. In year 12, and I would spend my private studies where I should have been studying, but I wanted to study, had chosen at school. Instead, I chose to write excessive notes about moral dilemmas. So like consequentialism. I can't even say it. Consequentialism. I'm just going to put the word on the screen because I cannot say consequentialism or deontology. All that stuff. I loved it. Anyway, so this episode was like so good for the psychology and ethical aspect of my mind. I wrote down a few things as I was rewatching it that I really, really loved about this episode, and the main thing was the lighting and the colouring of the episode. The lighting is like really dark and sinister, and that also kind of gives you the vibe of like mystery, and you can't see the full picture. You don't actually know what is happening, basically. That's what I get from it. I know like they probably intend for certain things and then the audience can have their own perception of what's happening, but I like to interpret it as you don't understand the full picture of things, like you're in the dark about a lot of what's happening. For example, when and I've got a timestamp here, when Drew is in the bathroom, at that point you just think he's the suicidal man who has been saved. We don't know anything. We don't know any of the situation that's about to unfold, and I think that point was when I noticed the darkness the most. And that's why I wrote it down. Another aspect that I loved about this was just the concept, like how every single decision Blake made, it could have changed the outcome. The whole trolley problem, are you going to let the person die or are you going to kill a person? And they kept obviously coming back to that because that was the point of the episode. But I really liked how, you know, different aspects of it, like if Blake hadn't tried to drug him, the situation could have been different. Blake had just said, oh, I'll own up to what I've done, and made that choice, his son would have been safe. He had about 3 opportunities, probably more, to do the right thing, and he just never did it. Never did it because he was too concerned about his image. And, oh my god, brain has just connected some dots. He's very concerned about his image, and you can tell that through how he puts his degree up on the side, and there's that thing that Reece's character Drew says where it's like, oh, the frame's just big enough to cover the like this M, I think, because it was Mook Cambridge, so he's like, it's just big enough to cover the MC. So sorry if I got the quote wrong, but it's like clearly showing that he cares about the fact that it looks like he went to Cambridge. And there's just different aspects where it's like you can tell this person cares about how they are perceived, and I just think this episode was gorgeous. This episode was just so thought-provoking. I also wanted to take time to appreciate the scene in the episode. This was visually haunting, but also so incredibly done. The way you can see the flames in his glasses, clearly showing how all of his options have literally depleted to nothing right in front of his eyes, and there is literally nothing he can do about it anymore. And with his son still on the phone to him, just it makes you wonder what actually happens after these scenes, and how does one go on after everything has just been taken right before them. That is what I thought about the trolley problem. And it was also an episode with just Reece and Steve in it, so I think that kind of adds to the intimacy of the situation, like how private it was. We didn't get other characters except for on like voice notes and the call, but it just adds to like how Boo to a Goose was kind of about society. So we had to have each person representing someone, a type of person in our society. And then we got the trolley problem, which is just a dilemma between these two people. So episode 3 is called Mulberry Close, and this is one of my favourites. I absolutely loved the kind of comedic aspect of this one. Obviously, all of them are funny in some way. They have some comedy through them. But this one, my very favourite moment is when he comes out with the ladder. Oh, and I can't remember his name, but the man with the dog, the neighbour with the dog. I'm really sorry, I'm terrible with names in general. But the man with the dog, when he was pulling the bin over, and then Damon comes to the door and looks out and is like, "What are you doing?" And then he comes with the ladder. Oh, that bit was just so funny, and because it's a continuous take as well, I just can't imagine how difficult that was to get through, but also just how much it added to the situation, the fact that you can't cut away from that, and you are just watching it as if it was real time. And yeah, I absolutely loved that part of it. I also loved the Ring doorbell aspect. When I knew that they were doing a neighborhood watch type episode, I hadn't watched the trailer, but I kind of thought, oh, wouldn't it be so great if they did like all from a doorbell, like a Ring doorbell perspective. I feel like that would be a very cool concept to explore, and they did it. And I was like, I did wonder how were we gonna see this story pan out, and I just think it's just so perfect because you can see each thing, and they think about what would actually trigger the doorbell to record in some moments where we're trying to listen to Damon and Val arguing, and it's like the milkman's coming, or there's a spider that's triggered it. I feel they thought about everything, and this episode was just incredibly funny as well. And it really just shows like nosy neighbours and people that get very involved and clearly don't have a lot to do, so they are very, very focused on what's happening around them and window watching people. And yeah, I think it's also really good that they didn't have what you would typically think. So I didn't actually think that Damon had killed Val. Obviously you think that immediately. Yeah, my instant thought was, oh my god, he's done that. But then I kept thinking, I don't think so. I just don't think so. But I would never have expected the man with the dog to kill Val. And the final joke that they put on with Michael Ball and the Mulberry Close murders absolutely gets, like, it will get a laugh from me every single time I listen to it. It's just so well thought through, and yeah, this episode, loved it so much. The 4th episode is called Control Alt Escape, and all I can say is this: absolutely insane episode. Loved this one. I think it's very hard to rank and rate these episodes, so I never do it. I can't have like a ratings list. I can't do it because they are all so different, and there are certain ones, for example, this one I would say is quite similar to 12 Days of Christine, with the kind of sudden switch. You know, with Christine it was like, you know, the dinner table scene. With this one it was that whole sequence where the escape, the serial killer in the escape room was coming in, and you just felt so tense and on the edge of your seat throughout this one. And as someone who has done a serial killer's escape room, I was terrified because I was like, I remember when the pig butcher tried to get me. That was what the one I went to was called. It was absolutely horrifying, and now I don't think I could do it again because obviously the situation was that he was trying to escape the coma, and oh, the imagery in that whole, just that concept, the meaning to that is just incredible. The escape room symbolizing his mind. Love that. And there are a few things that I found with this episode that kind of are very symbolic. So the first thing is the tunnel that his family go through, and then you see him look at it. It's got light at the end of the tunnel, which is obviously like going through to the other side. Light at the end of the tunnel, that kind of speaks for itself, but when you kind of see it, you kind of deep it like, So I saw that before I knew it was a coma, so I just kind of thought, oh, maybe that's like symbolizing someone's gonna die. And then he's also tied to the bed, so Steve's character, the dad, is chained to the bed, which you think, oh, that's probably just an aspect of the escape room, but it was just kind of to symbolize how he can't leave his bed because he's in a coma, like he's stuck there. And I just love that as well. The moment when he put his hand to the print and it matched, speechless. And the last bit with the escape room sign, and he's saying, can I have my final clue? And he looks in the mirror and he sees the X1. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know my Roman numerals. But my brother was in the room with me watching this one, and he doesn't normally watch them. It's because I was away on holiday when this one came out. And he was like, oh my god, that's 9. I was like... And Steve saying down the phone, number 9. Not the phone, the like walkie-talkie thing. Number 9. Shook to my core. I also love parts of details where it's like there was the word rugby and there was like the crossed out U because there's no him. Like there's no you, there's no him in their lives at the moment because he's in the coma, or there might not be him because he's in the coma and literally about to die. Flashlight. Someone put on Twitter that the flashlight that the escape room operator uses, obviously Reece's character, is a little like pupil flashlight because obviously he's a nurse. All those things that you just don't think about until you know, and all these episodes are so worth a rewatch. Please go do it. Then we have episode 5, which is The Curse of the Ninth. This one, as a piano enjoyer, I love this one. I love anything to do with the piano. I don't know why. It's an instrument I chose at a young age, and I've just adored it since. The music in this episode, obviously it is an episode surrounding a piano, but the music in the background just spoke volumes. I'm someone who really is in tune with music and how it kind of sounds, whether it's quick, slow, high, low. Like I'm always very in tune and listening. Like I like to hear the music and what it's trying to tell me. And that whole sequence when she had put the final piece of the symphony into the book and closed it, and you just kind of, you're there and you're thinking, When Reece's character handed it to her, and I thought, sneaky. Sneaky. How, like, I would never have thought of that. Just as a person, like if I was in his situation, I would have just put the piece in and thought, you know what, yeah, that's me done. Maybe I'm just like, I'm not as clever as other people. I think this episode was also, it's very like historic, and I love that vibe. And it's very different. I love when an episode is just clearly different from each, like every episode's different, but as I say, you can put them into different categories. Like this one's a very historic piece, and I also, the symbolism of him ripping off the fingers of the piano player, that was painful because that whole piano player's life was his fingers. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, that was his life and profession, and the reason he died was because of that piano, which you play with your fingers. And to rip them off so carelessly, the lowest you can get, and he was literally standing in a grave. He couldn't get any lower. And the music at the end, oh my god, the horrific nature of her neck. Oh, I had to squint my eyes. I was like, I blurred my eyes. I was like, I'm not really wanting to see that. But with all the pieces of the symphony around her, loved it. And all the outfits of that episode, gorgeous. Okay, I'm quickly cutting into the video because I really wanted to talk a bit more about the music and the background sounds that are in each episode. So I spent my morning rewatching the episodes again, but focusing on the sounds. Start with Boo to a Goose, because this one has so it has the tube noises, obviously, because that is where we are. But it has very harsh and sharp noises which really attack you. And obviously, by the way, I'm not an expert, so this is just how I interpret things and how it makes me feel. So very like warped as well, which gives you a very uneasy feeling. And it's really similar to how we're watching these characters get gassed, really suffering and really getting attacked by this gas that's coming in. Get these weird distorted moments where you're feeling a bit like, ooh, I'm not very comfortable right now, and it really relates to the situation that you're in, because then none of them are comfortable with what's happening. The sounds are slightly different is when we're on to Harold, and he has a very mysterious like noises going on.
The authorities couldn't get to them.
Because that is just his character. He is a huge mystery to me as well, because I'm literally so confused about him. And in a way, that's kind of good, because he is a very confusing character. But obviously there is a point to him, so if anyone can tell me, please. Trolley Problem. This one had a lot of silence in it, so obviously when you're first watching it, you're very focused on the dialogue and the people. You don't really think, oh, there's not actually been much music in this one. And I really enjoyed that, because you get to hear the rain ambience, and that really feeds into the situation, because also there's thunder as well, which really lights up at very pivotal moments. We do get some, I think it is piano, but it could be strings. So I'm going to say piano, and it might get that wrong. But when we do get the piano, it's very slow and mysterious, and it gives you a lot of time to think. And it's how in my head, it's how Blake has options and he has time to make the right decision nearer to the beginning. But when we get to the nearer to the end, when Blake has stabbed Drew with a pen and he runs out the house, suddenly that slowness just becomes quick and staccato. So it's like very sharp noises, and it's clearly how his time is running out. And he still goes back into the house after that moment, because you do think, oh, maybe this is the point where he's going to get away, to then going back to that slowness again. And what I loved about this one was felt very unresolved at the end. Like the piano, it just ends with questions. We're just watching the start of a very horrendous situation. Mulberry Close. I adore this one for how it's just so natural. There's no added music, I don't think, because it is just on the door ring camera. So it really adds to the realism of the situation. Like, it is just supposed to be like you're watching someone's ring doorbell. Control-Alt-Escape. That one, the music, it felt very, and it's difficult to say because obviously it's meant to be tense and it's meant to be eerie at times, but in a way I still felt comfortable with it. And it's very difficult to explain, but it was a very sad like piano melody, but yeah, I felt like it was familiar, comfortable with it. And I feel like that kind of relates to the family. This family are obviously very close, and you're meant to feel comfortable, yet there's that thing that you don't know about. Obviously that is the fact that he's in a coma, but at that point, because it's nearer the start, you don't know that. It wasn't something I could definitely hear, it's just something I felt. When he was, sorry, I'm looking at my post-it note again. When Jason, the dad, was talking to his daughter, I think her name's Millie, there is a lot more silence with like a quiet piano, to definitely like tune into the speech and allow you to listen. Because if we're talking about Jason, that's all he can do. He can only hear what's around him because he's in a coma. Quickens, so the music quickens when he's alone. Obviously his thoughts are racing. Maybe when his family actually speak to him, because if you think about it, all this situation has obviously got to have some meaning in the real world, but we don't see that till the end. But if you like think about his family were to talk to him, maybe he would feel more relaxed. But when he doesn't hear anyone, that might be why the music quickens, because he feels more alone, he's got more time to think. And those moments where he would like flick the light off and he had the UV torch, there was a sudden eeriness, like a definite change in the tune. The heavy sounds, there's very heavy noises when it comes to the serial killer coming in. In my head they remind me of it, like the massive boots he's wearing, but they're very like heavy noises. On the beautiful bit, like the music, when he's watching his family on the screen and they're all laughing and they're all happy because they've just solved part of the puzzle, it's more happy music, and there's nothing sad about the music at that point. It's just pure happiness. Warms my heart. One moment where you can hear some like twinkling noises, I don't know how to explain it, but like there's these, I'll try and find them, and it just kind of gives you a little bit of hope, because I think in that moment there's some hope that Jason can get out of this situation and get out of his mind. Episode 6, Plodding On. I literally feel so sad. Episode was just the perfect way to end it. I don't want to hear anyone say it wasn't. Like, that was the only way to end it. That, in my mind, that was the perfect way to end the show, because, you know, you're doing literal reference after reference after reference of all the episodes that they've done. As a fan, you can watch it and like find pieces of your favorite episodes, or, you know, say to your family, oh, that one's from Bernie Clifton's dressing room. The whole Bernie Clifton dressing room sequence, where it was like clearly replicating that, where Reese's character was saying, I thought you had died, or, you know, because Steve's, well, I said Reese's character, he was playing himself. But when Reece says to Steve, I thought you had died, that was like clearly Bernie Clifton's dressing room, where he said, you nearly died, Len.
What are you saying?
You nearly died, Len.
That hurts. Anyway, every time I hear the voice crack, I don't know what it is, it's just the emotion in that. I love Nick Mohammed's scenes. I thought the podcast bit, obviously Simon Says reference, very, very funny. I also love Nick and Steve on Taskmaster, so seeing them together again, I was like, we're back. And yeah, the fact that they were talking to each other on the podcast, and then Nick would do like a little like ad reading, so funny. And it would kind of match what they were talking about, so you'd think, oh, he's just trying to like give him advice, and it's like, no, he is just talking about Windows. Love the whole like intro bit with Catherine Parkinson and Tim Key, which is clearly reference to sardines, because the way they were just so close and compact in that one cubicle. And Tim's like, I just find he is so comedic with everything he does. Like the choices he makes are just incredible. Like the way he was just leaning in so close, and then Catherine was clearly looking uncomfortable. Just incredible. The song, I can't even deal. Time to Say Goodbye, is that what it was called? He like was really heartbreaking, and I didn't like, I thought I'd heard it before, but obviously it's the song that's in 12 Days of Christine, and when I rewatched that one, I thought, that is why it gave me that emotion. Like, you just feel sad hearing that song, and all the different characters in the background. Oh, there are little bits that you can look for as well with I saw Mr. King's, like the Mr. King mask in the background, someone sitting at the bar wearing it, fair play. The Nana's party cake and all the different like posters on the walls. I just think they couldn't have done anything better, in my opinion. And then the final bit with like the bus episode, which everyone clearly wanted. I just think it was just such a wholesome way to end, because obviously that's something that people have been wanting forever. Obviously on Twitter, like, you see everyone like, where's the bus episode? And it's like, there it is. Make people believe it's not coming because they haven't done a whole episode of it, and just the last bit, perfection. I did actually cry hysterically over that episode. Insert clip. It's tears of laughter in the background.
I don't think it was tears of laughter.
No, it's the song in the background.
You recorded it.
I was absolutely in tears, but like laughing through tears. Tears of laughter. Oh, Bernie Clifton's dressing room. By the way, I will insert a clip at the end of me playing Tears of Laughter on my piano, because I learnt it by ear. But anyway, this show has been essential in my life in the past couple of months. It really helped me get through my A-levels. So yeah, that is the whole reason I feel so emotionally attached to it, and why I've had this reaction. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and enjoy me playing Tears of Laughter on my piano to end the video. Bye everyone.